It's not bringing Catholics and Protestants together. It's far, far more than that.
Integration to me, to put it very simply, is the importance of an inclusive learning environment.
It is a multitude of people who all come together to learn every day.
It's about inclusivity. It's like sharing your differences regardless of like your background, and you can come together and like share your different opinions.
To me, integrated education is an opportunity for our young people to meet people from different backgrounds and have no stereotypical views on any one person.
It's pretty fun because you get to talk to people from all different backgrounds and ask the questions you probably might not have got the chance to when you were younger or anything.
So integrated education is the bringing together and the teaching of people from all abilities, all religions, all sexualities, all genders, all interests and personalities. It's non-discriminative teaching, and we have to think like that, because that is the type of education that reflects society as a whole, and it prepares young people for their way forward, no matter where they go in the world.
You get equal amounts of religion taught, like different types of religion are taught equally. And there's like no specific emphasis on any type of like one religious sector. You learn about the history, their practices. I've learned like about Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Baha'ism, like the Baha'i faith. It's taught in somewhat of a factual approach, but with a specific emphasis on like their cultural background and stuff.
I know from my own experience that all religions are taught and explored, beyond Catholic and Protestant, beyond denominations. It's, a worldview. So you've got Judaism, Hinduism, Muslim backgrounds. You kind of are given a very well broad perspective factually, and religion is a very contentious issue within Northern Ireland, but I don't think it has to be, and I think that should be believed. Like, I don't think that you should sit with the belief that we can't speak about this in a peaceful manner. We totally can, and it's been proven. That's why there's 65 integrated schools and more growing. One of the things that we were taught that really inspired me was that you could have philosophical discussions and debates within these classes and learn about different individuals, but that didn't necessarily define their entire identity. You could go out into the playground again and they're just your friends and your peers, and you don't judge them for it either. It's part of your learning experience, is that theirs is different, and if we were all the same, it'd be very boring. That's my mum would always say.
We take RE and we learn about religion, but so I suppose yes, but like we aren't pushed into it. And I felt like I was pushed into it in my other schools. And it was a really healthy process being taught about it. And it wasn't really pointed at you.
Oh, well, they definitely respect all types of religions because they're more open to knowing about different religions and how they're taught and the things people could have grew up with and learned in their background.
This school are genuinely the most amazing people at that. Like, that is the most admirable thing about this school. They have a canteen for people who eat halal meat. They have a canteen for people who eat regular meat. They have vegetarian hot dogs. They have everything for everyone, and they really embrace it in the canteen everywhere. Like, they encourage you to practice what you believe, and you have the freedom to do so. And that is so amazing, and I'm so proud of the school that I'm at because of that.
Well, we have St. Patrick's Day assemblies, Remembrance Day assemblies, for anyone who wants to pray or like meditate. We have a meditation room in our religious studies area, and I think we're able to celebrate as a collective because no matter what our religion is, we go to carol services together all as a school. You're not like broken apart on the basis of your religion. You celebrate them somewhat together. Like, I've meditated with my class together. We've talked about our different practices at home and our different beliefs.
So for the newcomer experience, I only really remember there was a boy in my class from a Chinese background, and I remember he was assigned a classroom assistant, and I think that was due to the fact that his English language proficiency just wasn't as high, obviously, as other kids in the class, being a bilingual student that he was. So it was an interesting experience. I think for maybe him it could have been quite isolating at times because his language proficiency wasn't the same as ours, but it didn't hold him back in his learning long term. It was a really incredible experience learning about his background and his culture, and seeing that embedded into our curriculum as well was really meaningful, and I think it just helped him integrate better into a classroom where obviously he was, I suppose, a minority of cultures in that room, and it's really important that the rest of those students engage and learn about that culture so that he feels more included and he feels more involved in his learning experience. In terms of in secondary school, I can't really speak from my own personal experience, but I have been in secondary schools where they have introduced students from a young age coming in from refugee backgrounds, and I know the political sphere or spectrum right now in Northern Ireland is quite difficult for them to understand, and when they come in it's a big shock to learn about. So that's why I think it's still important to keep talking about our history and to talk about it from multiple perspectives, so for those people who do come in from different backgrounds and different cultures, that their understanding of our history is there. And it is quite a shock to the system for them because they don't expect it. So I think the sooner we have those conversations, the better. And it also means it opens doors for us to talk about other cultures too, like for example their backgrounds. I think it's really important to discuss that as well. It's not just about our history. Our country is more diverse than the stereotypical Protestant and Catholic approach nowadays, and we really need to recognise that and focus that in our curriculum as well.
I'm a history student, so I have learned about it, and they really cover it all. Like, they cover both sides of the story, like why, when, how, like it all came about. And yeah, it's definitely taught here. It's they really make sure you're educated on it and make sure you're aware of the history so as it doesn't repeat itself.
It's all factual. They will when teaching controversial topics, it's never a biased opinion. It can't be. In an integrated school, we want to celebrate religions, we want to celebrate background, but it's about doing that in a way that is respectful, and they do that in a fact-based way.
It's you really get both sides of the story, but in my other schools it was all just they did this, they did that, just really villainizing people, and I don't think that's a very positive thing.
I think in integrated education, in order to mould a person into who they are, which is what school is for, they need to have both sides of the story. Because if someone who has went their whole life being so sheltered to one point of view, when they're then open to all these different points of views, are they going to stay completely ignorant to it, ignorant bliss, or are they going to want to then learn but not know how to? Are they going to then be, I don't want to say scared, but are they going to be afraid of learning different views and different people?
I learned about Northern Irish history in history classes and in religious studies classes. You get, maybe from the religious studies classes, you get the perspective, the cultural perspective on it and how it's implicated in society today. And then in history, you get given the facts and the basis and how Northern Ireland has evolved over the years. So I think it gives you a comprehensive understanding of what has gone on here, without being biased.
Yeah, the Northern Ireland's history was approached in a very non-biased and objective way, usually within the classroom. So the facts were given, we laid out the timeline in a very non-biased way and tried to look and understand the situations that happened from two angles, from a couple of maybe different angles. People had different opinions within the class. We were able to openly and respectfully discuss them. That was really nice, because you learned what other people thought and what knew, and you were, earning, you were gaining knowledge from their experience. And I think one thing you should always keep in mind is that, if you're speaking to someone, you always expect that they can teach you something that you don't know. That's really important. So, provided a space where you were listened to, but you could also listen, and it was more interesting and diverse.
In GCSE history, we're taught all about Ireland and its neighbours, and that was just what we learned. It wasn't this big controversial what did you learn in history today? It was a discussion, and it was an open discussion with the teacher. If we had personal questions, she was very, very open to answering them. She's amazing. And then afterwards, if we had questions amongst ourselves, we were encouraged to ask them, and we were encouraged to research more. There were often projects where we would have to ask at home. I remember doing that project my little brother was doing on the Troubles, and going home and asking my dad and my granddad about their personal experiences. And so it was teaching me, it was giving me knowledge. Obviously they were slightly more biased, but then I got to go back to class and learn and read all of the other students' parents' experiences and grandparents. It was really, really interesting, and I loved that it was so encouraged in the school.
I don't think we have any flags or emblems on display. In terms of emblems, there's the school crest is a big one, because there's like 4 corners of Newbridge's crest, and one is hands shaking for integration. There is the piece is the dove, and then there is the River Bann, and I think yew trees of Newry. So it's in between Newry and Banbridge, Newbridge, so that's the name of the school. And so it's the bringing together of them two communities and those around, as well as showing that we're for sort of peace and integration, and that's built into the ethos of the school. It was built on that.
What is on display as you walk into the foyer is different parts of our school crest and what they mean. It's a symbol of peace, it's a symbol of integration, and that is what has been on display in our foyer since I've been in the school. Other things that are on display are all things created by students as products for an integrated prize or for the Carson Bursary. Those are very much made very prominent in the school, in the sense that they are on display very prominently as students' work. Things like we made a quilt not so long ago where all of the form classes made a patch that symbolised what integration meant to them, and that was all put together, and that was in the foyer for a while. I think it might still be, but the things on display in our school very much promote integration and promote our integrated ethos for the students.
The only emblem that I know about is the badge for the school, but I've never seen any other emblems or flags or anything being flown.
Every flag's on display. I think I've actually seen every flag in the world in my school probably before. It's not like we just have the Irish flag and the British flag. We have all the world's flags. We probably acknowledge that there is an identity attached to the flags, but there's not much emphasis placed on what we feel particularly. There's not much emphasis about them in a school setting because it doesn't really benefit education that much.
I remember my first day of Newbridge, and I want to say it was great. You found out your form class and you started to meet, and there was a lot of games and little workshops to facilitate learning about new people and having fun and playing together. And it was more about, hey, you're a little mini group now. It wasn't about pointing out the differences. It was about how we can all be included together, and that always stuck with me.
Well, for primary school, I would say, for me, it was a Christian primary school, so coming into more of a diverse community was actually really fun, and I feel like I'm more intrigued to learn about everyone else's backgrounds and stuff, because I grew up like with one thing compared to like going in and learning about all different ones.
I know from learning from other pupils who came in from a segregated background into sixth form, their experiences were so different. It was like, they talked about it like it was like a door being opened up, a whole different realm of the world that they were now exposed to, that they could talk to different people from different communities, whereas from before they didn't have any opportunity to do that.
Coming in, it was just nice for you to see different people of colour and religion backgrounds and stuff.
The introduction for Year 8 pupils in Newbridge is an experience of becoming a part of the Newbridge community. It's really, they value the importance of each student feeling a part of that community, and I think that's quite unique to the school. I haven't really heard that so much from other schools, but they're literally taking these students that come from different schools and kind of giving them those opportunities to build their own little communities within themselves, but as a grand picture being in that whole Newbridge integrated community.
I've only heard good things from Newcombe pupils. Like, when they come to the school, I've definitely heard that it's somewhat shocking for them to maybe be in a class with people who have probably a lot of different opinions. And we always, especially in our school, we have so much respect for students. I feel like teachers have a lot of respect for students as individuals rather than just a collective whole. We're allowed to talk with teachers about our opinions, and our opinions are validated by the teachers as well. And I think that's something that definitely students from other schools have picked up upon, how close our relationship is with like the staff. It's like, as cliche as it sounds, it is somewhat of a family. And yeah, I think that's so beneficial for a pupil of a young age to have that collectivity.
My experience was that it was a very high quality of education. It got me where I needed to go. They facilitated and encouraged me to explore both creative and academic pathways. So I did art, maths and physics for A-level, and I still to this day do artistic commissions and exhibitions, and I studied physics with astrophysics and got a first in my master's in Queen's in 2018. So it did nothing but make me a well-rounded person. You know, if you're an academic person, you will thrive no matter where you are, and if you're willing to learn, you will thrive. If you're given an opportunity to do that in a place which also encourages your other interests, you're in a very good position. You know, universities want people who are well-rounded and can think in a multi-dimensional way. They want people who are creative and they want creative problem solvers. They want people who are innovative and can think in different ways. And we should be facilitating our young people with that type of education to provide them with the experiences to learn that skill. And the best way to do that is to take a young person, look at their interests and their personality and see what fits for them. Not everybody's going to be academic, not everybody's going to be creative, but whatever they're interested in, that should be explored and encouraged.
My other friends in grammar schools have told me that their schools don't really care about mental health or the students as much. They kind of really only care about the grades and the academic side of the pupils. In Newbridge, I have been celebrated in my creative side to the point where I have been given opportunities for specifically music, drama and art, And they really are all about celebrating that, celebrating their students as individuals rather than statistics or grades or numbers. Everybody that leaves that school has had their own personal experience and has been given their own opportunities based on their personalities rather than how well they're graded in exams.
I'd say the quality of education is extremely high. I think I've learned everything so comprehensively and in depth. I really couldn't fault it at all. I don't know what it's like compared to other schools, as I've never been to another school. But I would say that hearing from like friends and other schools and stuff, we're definitely taught extremely well and willing to succeed. And when you do succeed, you're really rewarded in our school with praise, with different opportunities that you're given. They have so many like schemes and the connections outside of school. When you do well, you're able to really use them.
But I really have such wonderful memories from my primary school, really happy memories, and lots of people from different backgrounds around me was always a really enlightening experience. And when I went to secondary school, I think that was the first time I experienced sectarianism, which was a big shock to the system because I came from, my parents were mixed marriage background, and obviously I went to an integrated primary school, so the first time I experienced sectarianism was in a non-integrated primary school or a non-integrated secondary school. So I think that's why it's even more important to encourage an integrated curriculum and integrated schools and integrated education, because we don't want to see that kind of opinion developing. We need to continue that focus on being open-minded and learning about others, and more importantly, understanding others as well, because I think at the end of the day, the only way to really create those and build those friendships is by understanding why people feel the way they do and understanding the history that has fed into that.
There's millions of people in Singapore, and they have one education system that governs the whole way from preschool to university. We currently have 30 different organisations to facilitate the segregation in our education system, and that costs billions. We could be saving billions and putting that to good use if we actually facilitated the active involvement of young people from different communities.
I think it will prepare me to just be able to respect anyone who I come across in anything, and in a job per se. It will just let me respect anyone who's, say, my boss or colleagues, because I'm not going to judge them based on their colour or anything.
I recently did a dialogue symposium not very long ago, like a week ago, and we talked a lot about community and how we felt in the community and how we felt we could affect the community. And it was all with students from England, Wales and Scotland. And so when I was talking about kind of this split in community, that is just how Ireland is, they were interested to know a lot more about the history because they weren't really taught it as much as I guess we are taught it in my school. And the thing that I kept saying was we're just hopeful. We're hopeful that the younger generation and our generation will bring us through and continue to be breaking those barriers. And I think that starts with education. If children are brought up their whole lives learning and being taught one view and being surrounded by people with the same views, they're going to go into the world with only that same one view. And as I said before, are they going to be then open to learning more, or are they going to be very much ignorant to everything else, stuck with their view? You don't know. That's the type of person that they are. I think in integrated education, it wipes that fear of staying ignorant to every other view, and literally from really, really young kids, teaching them the importance of learning from other people and the importance of diversity and integration.
I'm not sure if it's just attributed to integrated schools, but I've definitely heard from other people in schools that they've gotten asked whether they're Catholic or Protestant, and they've put in like the classic like, oh, I'm atheist, or are you Catholic atheist, or are you Protestant atheist? But in our school, I've never been asked that once through my whole journey in education. I think because there's not that much of an emphasis placed on its importance. Obviously we understand like the repercussions it has had in our society, but I would say because we don't have to, maybe because we're so used to being so different, it's not highlighted as much, and we don't have to try and pinpoint who is who, because everyone's different in their own way, and we understand that.
With shared education projects, I have mixed with non-integrated schools. Also just in my life, like with dancing and singing and climbing, you're naturally going to mix with people from other communities. The only time that I can tell when someone is from another community is in school uniform, because that is when you can tell what school someone's from. You can tell if they're from integrated education or not. And so I think that just speaks for itself in saying in integrated education it doesn't matter, because that is what prepares you for the world. The world is integrated.
I would like to see in a couple of generations that integration becomes the majority, and that doesn't mean the mitigation of different religious denominations. It means the facilitation and celebration of them together.